Something that I love to talk through with my couples who are maybe a little bit more hesitant to be more sustainable is to show it to them as an opportunity to, with your first acts as a married couple, improve your community. Have an impact with the first thing that you do. I was always the kid growing up that was like really into recycling and making sure that my parents turned off the lights when they exited a room, and did like pond cleanups with my dad, stuff like that. So sustainability, a lot of people think when they talk with me that wedding planning would have come first, but sustainability was always something I wanted to incorporate in my work, no matter what I was doing. When I was in college, I loved theater events and realized that I could have a similar experience with weddings and also get to be a part of people's love stories and get to do all of the, have every day be a little bit different than the last and get to be in so many beautiful places. So yeah, I found sustainability first and then wedding planning second. And I got trained by a lot of really incredible wedding planners out here in the industry. And then when COVID started, it became a natural opportunity to start my own company, which had always been the goal, was to make sure that I was doing sustainable weddings, because it is very rare for wedding planners to specialize in it. So I knew that I was gonna have to have my own company in order to be able to do the work that I ultimately wanted to do. The average wedding makes 400 pounds of waste, and it's kind of mind-boggling to me. So there's just so much that when you're in the industry you wouldn't know that it would be wasteful, but there's a lot of rentals wrapped in like oodles and oodles of plastic and that getting thrown at the end of the night. Decor is a place where I see a lot of waste. The traditional way of building a wedding is very aesthetic. So there's a lot that is considered about how things are gonna look and also logistics, but some of the time those aesthetic choices can be really detrimental. So I had a wedding that I worked on a very long time ago where the couple engraved champagne flutes for every single guest, and that champagne flute had their wedding information. So who's really gonna take a champagne flute with someone else's like wedding info? And so they had bought like 300 champagne flutes and they went home with like 250 champagne flutes. And so I'm sure they're not using those all to this day. That's just, boxes and boxes and boxes of things that were never used. So favors can get really wasteful if we're not mindful about them. Also, I feel like transitioning out of it a little bit, but there's a big emphasis on acrylic in the industry nowadays. So there's a lot of items made of acrylic, whether that be bar signs, whether that be welcome signs, giant things, or every person gets their name card that's in acrylic engraved, for example. So, when we have 20 people, 200 people at a wedding, or if we have, just a lot of weddings every year, it's a really big industry, it really adds up. So people are often thinking about what they want for this one day, but when we're in the industry, that one day is every day for us. And so it really adds up and the impact accumulates. So there's a lot of that, of just people thinking about what they want and not necessarily realizing the options for how to do that better, or thinking, is it really this important that I have this, that we're gonna be okay with all the negative effects. A lot of couples, I recommend that they don't have favors at all. It really doesn't impact the guest experience. It's not what people are coming for. They're coming to celebrate you. But if we have to have favors, then let's make sure it's something that's consumable and it's something that you love. Because even if it's the best favor in the world, you're still probably gonna end up with a good chunk of them. So I've seen some weddings with coffee ground favors. That one was really cool because also the venue smelled like coffee. It smelled delicious. I had a wedding where instead of having, an acrylic escort card and a favor, for example, we had little jam jars for each guest, and their names were printed on a sticker that went on the top. So it doubled as an escort card and as a favor, and it was edible, right? So it's something you can consume, and then you can recycle the glass jar and the metal lid. And also it's something that the couple loved. So they did go home with a good number of those jam jars, but they are able to eat that because it's something that they would enjoy. There's also a lot of sustainable paper good options. So I do encourage people, if you're gonna have an acrylic sign, maybe have one or two, right? Let's not do acrylic for everything. It's not an all or nothing option. And so you can do cotton paper, which is usually made from recycled cotton textiles. You can do recycled cardstock. So there's all sorts of ways to get around acrylic, or at least if it's really important to your choices, be mindful about how much, what the scale of that's gonna be. A common misconception that a lot of people have about sustainable weddings is that you have to have what I've always called a crunchy granola wedding in order to be sustainable. So when people often think of sustainable weddings, sometimes they are thinking of, a wedding in your backyard where we're drinking out of mason jars and there's minimal flowers. Maybe they were picked from nearby and arranged by the family, a fully vegan menu, things like that. And some people really want to have that wedding, and that wedding is amazing. And also you can have much more, a really modern look to your wedding. You can have a boho look to your wedding. You can have a really lush, over-the-top look to your wedding and still be sustainable. So you don't need to feel like you have to choose between the wedding aesthetics that you're hoping for, the wedding energy that you're hoping for, and incorporating sustainability too. Yeah, there is so much potential for ripple effects when it comes to weddings, because in good and bad ways, they can almost be like a keeping up with the Joneses moments. Like, everyone talks about that incredible wedding that had like the exciting experience and that was gorgeous and that had amazing energy too. Everyone talks about that wedding that they've been to that kind of set the standard for them. And if that wedding is also sustainable, it can set the standard in terms of the impact that weddings should have moving forwards for, like everyone can one-up themselves on how much they're able to compost. And also, they can show those people that you can have the best wedding, have it be really sustainable. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other.